Hello there. So today the first full Avengers Doomsday trailer dropped. So I'm just going to give my thoughts. This was kind of a surprise. I had no idea this was coming today because I figured as well because Comic Con's this weekend. You thought Marvel's going to have their big panel. I sort of assumed they were going to like drop the trailer then and then bring it out. Of course, the week before Spider-Man comes out. But obviously they've got it out well in time for Spider-Man, unless they decided to bring it out early, seeing how well the Odyssey's doing, and they're maybe just going to put that with that as well. Get more eyeballs on it, whatever. But whatever, here it is. So apparently there was a trailer that came out at CinemaCon, and some people say there's some similarities. I heard people describing it came out in April, and there were some similarities from what people who were there who've described it there. It starts with a voiceover. You see like the sign from the X Mansion and things on the floor, and you see like Charles Xavier looking out and seeing almost like the big sun exploding thing. So you take it that's going to be like Doom killing off all the worlds and things like that. So you've got a voiceover here, which sounds like it'll likely be Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom. You don't see a ton of him, and this you see a few little glimpses, like you sort of see a glimpse with the mask off and things. You can tell it's not a really good look at him, but you can tell it's meant to be him. They've got his little accent there, so time will tell how that works once you actually see it in the context of the film and everything like that. I would say out of this trailer, there was a lot of really good stuff involving the X-Men. Some stuff we've kind of seen before in other films. There's a moment with Charles and Magneto and things like that, which almost kind of reminds me of the Days of Future Past movie as well. And, we've kind of seen stuff like that before, but it's effective. And there was a moment with Cyclops as well. Of course, I think of the teasers that came out a few months ago, like in the whole, they done one every week when Avatar came out, like end of December going into January and things. The X-Men one was the one that really hit the home run with that. Speaking of which, you see a little glimpse from that was in one of the teasers, like with the Wakandans meeting the Fantastic Four. That one wasn't quite so interesting, but whatever. But there's other little stuff here that you see, like Mystique fighting Yelena, and it's obviously like she's changing in between them, so it's like Yelena fighting herself. So that looked kind of cool and stuff like that. Rebecca Romaine is coming back for this, which is all good. So other one where I heard about this as well, people talking about it, they've seen the CinemaCon trailer, you have a glimpse of like uh, Shang-Chi fighting Gambit as well. So Gambit, of course, coming back, played again by Channing Tatum, after such a great appearance in Deadpool Wolverine a couple of years ago. I think he'll be probably a lot more clean in this. Won't be making little lines about he was born ready before he's even shot his daddy's dick or whatever the line was in that. Don't think we'll be getting lines in that like that in this film, but you never know. But this looked kind of cool and everything like that. And then you've got like Gambit flicks up the card and then does the little head tilt. It looked pretty cool, to be fair. So you've got a lot of the focus in this trailer is like Thor talking about how he's now meeting the new like Avengers and people that he hasn't met before, like the Fantastic Four and things. And he's talking about how he had the most powerful people before, and he was nowhere near as scared of this threat as he was of the current one as well. So it's just kind of like setting up. It's kind of like, oh well, after all that shit Thanos done, well that's nothing compared to this. So and this is where obviously they've got to deliver because Thanos delivered big time. There's a couple of little setup things like little appearances in Guardians of the Galaxy and in the first Avengers. Then the fine, I'll do it myself, mid credit scenes from Age of Ultron. But once you actually got his the first scene in Infinity War, you just knew this cunt was not messing about, and we got one of the all-time great villains with that. Of a great entrance, so that there is a ton of pressure now on Doom, especially of course with Robert Downey Jr. now playing it. We've got returning, so they've got to set this up, and it looks got a lot of pressure on this to deliver, and the film as a whole to deliver. And so there's that, and other little moments as well. And at the end of the trailer, funny enough, you hear a voice talking to Thor, and you're kind of like, oh well, it sounded a bit like Tony Stark to begin with. I was like, oh wait a minute, are they going to do a thing? It's like, and Thor's like, oh, it's impossible. And I thought, oh wait a minute, is it Tony Stark playing a trick or Doom playing a trick or whatever? And then no, it actually turns out it was Steve Rogers, and then they do a little thing about him taking the Mjolnir back. which is fine. I mean, it's member berries. The whole thing is going to be member berries, to be fair. This is like the Hail Mary for the MCU, if you know what I mean. Because if this fails, MCU is basically, not to sound over dramatic, but it's basically done. If, and it's going to be hard to see what they can do now after all this. But, you know, as a trailer, I thought it looked really good. It was great. And as I have to say, I do think I liked the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailers a bit better than this one. But, I'm not one of those ones who say, oh, you've got to show this and show everything and all that. But no, it looks like it's going to be something incredible off the scale and everything like that. And, as a trailer, I really liked it. I like it more the more I watch it. And then, of course, speaking of tying back to the whole Thor being scared of Doom thing, there was that great shot of like Thor going towards Doom and then he just holds his one finger up and just swats him away. That was great. That was really well done. That does tie into the whole thing about, wow, wow, that's why Thor's so scared and things. And now we're getting serious Thor, of course, not goofy Thor from like Love and Thunder. And to be fair, unpopular opinion, I actually really like Love and Thunder, but now we're getting the serious one back. So, it's all good. But yeah, really good trailer, And you had the whole thing, hey, see it in Infinity Vision. It's because they don't have IMAX now for this one, but they're creating their own premium format. Let's be real, once Dune 3's 3 week, or sorry, month-long window ends, they'll probably put this on in IMAX in January next year at some point. Almost certainly will. But, they'll probably do something similar for Spider-Man late August once Odyssey's 4 exclusive window ends. But, well, there you have it. That's just my thoughts. Really good trailer as well. I'm obviously massively excited for it. Look, it's an Avengers movie. Going to feature the X-Men properly for the first time in the MCU. Of course, we've had like Wolverine, Deadpool, Wolverine, but Deadpool, Wolverine was, even though it was tied into a lot of things, it was kind of its own thing. But now you've got the Avengers with the X-Men. That's the big hook here. So, of course, you see other little things like Scott Lang with Cassie as well. I've still got Paul Rudd, Catherine Newton coming back, and I like both of them, so that's always a good thing. I would say, if you're talking about people Avengers who could be potentially expendable here, I think Ant-Man could quite easily get bumped off in this film, quite easily. And you could be even looking at after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania's box office. After the first weekend, had a good first weekend, and then it just fell off a cliff. They might be like, yeah, no more solo Ant-Man films. That might be the way they go down that. But yeah, they're probably going to have to do some. Of course, you're going to tie in Secret Wars, especially after the way Infinity War ended going into Endgame. You need to do something huge. You need to basically show anything goes. A lot of people think it could be Thor that could get offed in either this film or Secret Wars. So we'll see. But yeah, I wouldn't, if they're going to off anyone in this film, and I think they really need to, at least one, then Ant-Man's probably quite expendable. One of the Thunderbolts as well, let's be real. They ain't getting a sequel to that, so, one of them could go like Red Guardian or whatever. But I don't think they'll kill off Yelena or anything like that. But we'll see. Time will tell. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on the trailer. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and goodbye.